Greetings. I'm the Reverend James Allen. I'm the current pastor of Trinity Chapel, African Methodist Episcopal Church here in the great city of Bay Minette, Alabama. I have served here for 10 and a half years, wonderful years. And when I look back, I just thank God for those 10 years. Truly, I'm standing on the shoulders of giants who have come before me, such as Reverend Jones, such as Reverend Rember, such as Reverend Anderson, and all the others who have come before me. But Trinity still stands even after all those years. We find out what God has done, and we think and we look back over our lives and say, if it had not been for the Lord, where would I be? And we thank God just for that. But when I think back myself, I tell you, many of us don't remember, but I have been here before. I have been here. I'm reminded when I came to Trinity once, and I was not even in the ministerial ranks. I came with my pastor here several years ago, between 20 and 27 years ago. Reverend Leggett came here to preach. And I'm reminded of someone who was doing the prayer when I came in the church. Yes, is one of our own, Reverend Sister Ruth Adams. She was doing the prayer at that time. I'm so reminded also when I came here another time, about 18 and a half years ago. I was serving in the church right here because you didn't have a current pastor at that time and they needed someone to fill in. I came and filled in for about a month here, and I was looking back there. When I look back, I can look back in the corner and see Brother McCants back there, teaching a men's Sunday school class. And he does a fine job, was doing a fine job. Those are some of the old stalwarts of our church who have been here and gone on. But we thank God for the work that they did while they were here. God has been good to us. I said, God has been good to us. And we just ought to look back and say to ourselves, oh yes, I thank you, Lord. I thank you, Lord.
Good evening. I'm Donis Norman. I am the Sunday school teacher here and superintendent at Trinity Chapel AME Church at 906 Dobson Avenue here in Bay Minette, Alabama. Our church, I want to give you a brief history of our church. Our church was organized in 1883. We have a long history. As you can tell from the tornness and the use of our hymnal, we have been here for a mighty long time. We have been here with one accord, one mind, focusing on the praise and worship of our God. Our mission is to focus on the physical and spiritual and emotional needs of our community, as well as educate. This is the mission of the AME Trinity Chapel AME Church. And we, the members, do our best to help and facilitate our goals and mission of the church. We are continuing on. Some may be old and worn at this Bible, but yet of this hymnal, but we are continuing on focusing with the faith and help of our God. The church was originally built in 1883. And in 1912, we have the first recorded deeds of our church. It was some members then who came forth and went to the courthouse and paid $1 to get the deeds processed. And the members of those people were at that time, Mr. George W. Walker, Mr. Richard Scott, Mr. Malachi Williams, James Hale, and Benjamin Thompson were the trustees at that time of Trinity Chapel AME Church here in Bay Minette, Alabama. This was in 1912. And in 1950, the church was rebuilt. And it continued on, and we had another annexing of our church in 1965. And we have another recorded. The church became incorporated in 1982. The members who helped facilitate the incorporation of our church in 1982 were Mr. Frank Hardy, Mr. James Hawthorne, Brother Willie E. Edwards, Sister Laura Mosley, Sister Maddie Bryant, Brother Shedrick Hardy, Brother Leon McReynolds, and Brother William Stevenson, and Ernest Grace, and Sister Eva Pearl Grace, Ruth Shepard, and Eugene Smith. These were the trustees of the Trinity Chapel AME Church at the time that our church became incorporated here at the probate office in Baldwin County.
My name is Ellen Bogan. I'm a steward in the church. I works in the kitchen. I sings in the choir. And I've been going to Trinity all my life. My mother and father, they started here. We moved to Bay Minette when I was 2. And Trinity is the only church I ever known and stuff. And my mother and daddy, they was strict about Sunday school, coming to church and stuff. They didn't play. My dad was an usher, and my mother, like the secretary, she was a superintendent of Sunday school. And every morning when we got up on Sunday morning stuff, we were dressed and we was in church every Sunday. They didn't slack out you, you stay in home and stuff. That didn't work, so I've been here, I'm 65 now. So I've been here all my life and stuff like that. We used to have this little store, Mr. Willie Elbert. I remember, it used to be over there. And like I said, when all my aunties, they came here. And they was like ushers. They would wear the white, like a nurse's thing with the hat and the shoes and stuff. You didn't talk, you didn't chew gum, you didn't do anything, you sit there. And they would take you, if you know, the acting up stuff, they'd take you outside, they'd bring you back in, you sit there. They didn't all this laying down and different stuff like that. They didn't play that, so that like instilled in me. So now I got 5 brothers and 4 sisters. And all of us just were raised up in the church. Some of us grade, but we come back. And like I said, Trinity is the only church I know. I've been here all my life, and I just, enjoy our pastor and stuff. And like I said, I remember Reverend Jones and Reverend Holloway. That's the one I remember the most, Reverend Holloway, and that was over 50 years ago.
Yes, I was raised up in this church. My whole family, the Cox family and the Nave family. Back in my young days, I was remember Reverend Holloway, Reverend Rimmel, Reverend Brooks, and Reverend Jones, who baptized me in my young days. I wouldn't take nothing for Trinity Chapel. I thank God for letting me come back home off that street out there for 31 years as a deputy sheriff. But you always come back home. This is home. Trinity Chapel is my home. I used to drive the senior citizen bus and pick up the senior citizen for the community center for Reverend Jones. Pick up the senior citizen and take them to the community center. From Tenshaw, Little River, and bring them to Bay Minette to feed them. The church ended up coming a long way. Come a long way. But it always been Trinity Chapel. It's always something you do in church.
I've been a member of this church, like everybody else, my whole life. As a child, I can remember up under the leadership of Pastor Jones. Pastor Jones done a lot for this church. He got a bus. He was the one, I don't know if you remember, the community center down there in Douglasville. Trinity was responsible for building that. It was a community center during the summertime, and like I wouldn't say I was like 13, 14 at the time. We used to go around. He used to pick up kids and down in off of 225, which is Brumley. We used to go to Stockton during the summertime. We had a camp at the community center, and used to serve lunch. And I can't remember all what we done. And there also is a swimming pool behind the community center, which is no longer there. But there's a swimming pool back there. He was responsible for getting that built. We used to pick up the kids from Faulkner State Community College and bring them to church. Like I said, we done a lot up under Reverend Jones at the time. They said he was a little ahead of his time. And like I say, and I'm a steward, a member of the choir board. I'm a missionary. Well, I was the missionary president. And like I say, during the summer, and then during the choir, most time I was the youngest one in the choir. And when the choir used to travel, most time we used to travel to our pastor before that. Like Reverend Rembert, up under him, we used to travel to Reverend Jones' new church. And they used to always tease me because I was the youngest one. They said I shouldn't even be going on the trip, but we used to have a good time up there. We used to have cookouts, we used to play volleyball, and then we would attend church there also at his church. Later on, up under the leadership of Reverend Jemison, who added the foyer out front of the church. We used to do a lot of things with him. And I used to also be a president of the YPD, which is the Young People's Department. And we used to take them to like the Selma for conventions and stuff. We also, as a child, we used to have Sunday school, what they call Sunday school convention. And it usually go for a whole week. And the members, parents of the church, they would get a child or two and put them in their house to board them for that week. And the whole week we used to have Sunday school. We used to do workshops for the kids, which I was a child at the time too. Like I said, we used to have workshops. They serve us lunch. Then we go out like have a play for a little while, and then everybody go back home. Everybody would go back to their individuals. Like say each person parents at the church used to get a child or two and board them for that week. And that was our Sunday school convention. And right now, we have our missionary, which is called the Essie Goodley Missionary Society. And as a missionary, we used to go out. If somebody was sick, had been in the hospital or something, we would go and sing and pray with them. And then we have our conventions, our missionary conventions, which will sometimes be in Birmingham, Montgomery. I think they had it this year in Mobile. Like I said, I've just been a member of this church my whole life, and we just had this. Like I said, this church has been good to me. I must say, because things that I done been through, they have been here for me, and I thank God for that, and I thank God for them.
My name is Annie, and I'm on the Usher board. I'm a member of the missionary. I try to do anything that I can in the church. I help clean the church. Whenever we have a program and we have dinner for our guests, I help serve. And I've been at Trinity now for about 5 years. I was here as a little girl with my grandmother and my mom. Her name was Laura Mosley. She was on the board to serve the Lord's Supper. She worked in the choir and also in the kitchen. And I remember back when my daughter was little and my grandmother would be putting all of the Lord's Supper up, and they were serving wine at the time. And my daughter would always want to stay here with my grandmother. and my grandmother realized that my daughter was drinking the wine. So we had to make sure that she didn't drink it. And my grandmother, she worked in the church. She did everything that she could here in the church. And that was before I left as a child and when I came back. Before I left, my mom sang in the choir. Her name was Bernice Valerie. And there was a song that they used to sing. It was "What Is This?" And they all sang it to the utmost with their heart. You know, you could tell that they were singing from their heart. They were young then. Since I've been back at church, this church, I was baptized again under Pastor James Allen. And I'm willing to do anything that I can for the church. We have projects going on right now to redo the outside, a parking lot, to finish the bathrooms off in the bottom, in the annex. And I just enjoy coming to church here. I enjoy my pastor. I love my pastor. I love the members of our church. As a little girl, I remember Sunday school. There used to be a building right across the street. And after Sunday school, we would go over there. We would try and save our money that was supposed to be put in church. But my grandmother always caught us. So she would turn around and give us money so we can go and buy the cookies and the juice or whatever they had. And as a little girl growing up, I enjoyed myself here. And when I came back, I had a daughter. I had been married and lost my husband. So I moved back down south. And I've been here ever since. And I enjoy the services on Sunday.
My name is Frank David Mosley Jr. and I'm a member of Trinity Chapel AME. And I was a member from far back as I can remember when I was a kid. My mother used to bring me to church. First, she used to send us to Sunday school. And I was like a troubled kid. After Sunday school, she tell me I better be at church when she get here. But some Sundays I would slip away, go back through the bushes, back home. And so when she get home, I had to pay for it. And so I was a member here up until I was a man, I was grown. And I came back home. My mother was ill, so every time I talked with her on the phone, when are you coming home? They get me. She was with my sister in Florida. In fact, she was in the nursing home in Florida. And so I retired, and I dropped everything and came home and got her. Went to Florida and got her, and I brought her home. And she had to be put in a nursing home here. But I stayed here. I was planning on taking care of her at home. But the doctor wanted her in the nursing home. But every Sunday, I go get her, bring her to church, and take her back. Have trouble getting her out the car. She didn't want to go there. She wanted to go home. And so I did that up until '06. That's when she passed. My father passed in '99. He was 91, and when my mother passed, she was 95. And I wanted to spend time with the both of them, but my father, he passed, while I was still in Connecticut. And this is my mother here, and that's her there. She was taking communion here. And after she passed, I continued coming to church. In fact, I never left church. I could find me a church in Connecticut, Bethel AME. And when I came back here, I came back to Trinity in 2004. And I've been here ever since under the pastor of Reverend James Allen.
My name is Ernest Moore. I'm a new member here at Trinity Chapel. And I think Trinity Chapel is probably one of the best churches here in Bay Minette. And I truly enjoy going here. I sing in the choir, and I help clean up the church. And Trinity has been a blessing, and like finding a new family, you know. And I think everybody here is some really, really beautiful people. And I think we got one of the best pastors, I must say, in all of Alabama, Reverend Allen. Reverend Allen, truly a blessing. And, you know, Reverend Allen always say like this, Reverend Allen is not big in stature, but he's big in any other kind of way. He's really a great guy and a beautiful pastor. And I think Trinity, with some of its history, it's awesome, honestly. I think, you know, for a church to be around as long as Trinity, it's a beautiful thing. I know it's a lot of people in this community, their family have came to Trinity, and children, grandchildren, mothers, fathers, my sister, her husband, the gentleman that was full of water. That's my brother-in-law. But Trinity definitely has been a blessing to me. I think, like I said, it's one of the churches that I guess it's one of the foundations of Bay Minette, actually. You know, it's been here for so long. So many people came and went, and families, and, you know, married, buried, I guess, you know, just, it's been a beautiful part of Bay Minette.
I'm Cecil Henderson, and I'm a member of Trinity Chapel, AME. And I'm a trustee and a stewardess. And since I was away from Trinity for a while, and I decided to come back when I retired, and I wanted to come back and do what I could for the church and go and serve the Lord here at Trinity. I made up my mind before I even retired exactly what I wanted to do. And it's been a real blessing here at Trinity. And I do a lot of stuff around here, as a brother mentioned not long ago. And I enjoy doing it. And it makes my heart feel good. And anything around here that needs doing, I do it. And I don't brag about it, because it's something I love to do. And it's just something that growed on me through the years. And I want to serve Trinity and serve my pastor. And I got the best pastor, James Allen. He's the nicest guy I ever met. And I enjoy him. And anything neat doing around here, I just do it.
We continued on as we continued on for many years. We know that Pastor Jones, he was fundamental here at Trinity Chapel, and he began with assistance of the city and the county in providing the Douglasville Community Center, which at the Douglasville Community Center, they provided free lunches during the summer for kids, and also had a swimming pool at that time. And the members of Trinity Chapel AME Church helped and assisted with those programs. And Pastor Jones, during his tenure at that time, also purchased a church bus, We have a picture of that church bus with people standing around. And with the church bus, he would go down to Faulkner State College and pick up students. The students would come and participate in our worship service. Many would not go home on weekend, but came here to fellowship and serve at Trinity here in the choir sometime and just be worshipers with us. Because, you know, with all things, we have to take time to give praise and worship to God. As Pastor Jones' tenure went on, we had other pastors. And during the tenure of Pastor Holloway, that was at the time we had our annex built in 1995. And we're so thankful for the many pastors we had over the years. Our pastors, when I first came here in 1989, was Pastor Brookin. And so Reverend Brooks was the pastor here at that time. And we had service, Sunday school, morning worship, as well as oftentimes evening programs with annual events, such as our Family and Friends Day, Men's and Women's Days. And we also had different other events at the church at that time as well. I know some members, such as Sister Evelyn Bowling, she was sponsored what we call a Zodiac Tea, which would be a fundraiser for the church. Each member would pick a month and they would set up and decorate those tables, and that way we have the fundraiser with food, fellowship, and we would invite our friends in the community to help celebrate. And we would often have this event down at the Douglasville Community Center, which many members of the church had helped facilitate. And we would also go out into the community, be an eye in the community. We would help with voter registration. We would help just to encourage and enlighten the community. And Trinity Chapel has a rich history of educators in our church. Many of our educators were principals, teachers, and coaches at the Douglasville High School. And they are members such as Professor Anderson, Sister Evelyn Bowling, Brother Shedrick Hardy, and his wife Magic Hardy. They were all members here who were educators at the Douglasville High School. And these members would help as the church, he would help, and also Brother McCants. He was a principal at that time as well, and an educator at the Douglasville High School. And many people give many accolades to these educators for helping them to get through life and endure life. Because of their example and leadership, many young men and women in the community went on to college. Many went on to Alabama State University, Alabama A&M, and became educators as well. And you know, with Douglasville High School and with the connection of the community, Trinity Chapel was always a bright beacon in our community with those educators and the people who came to fellowship with us during those times. At times, we had service on the first and third Sunday, and we also fellowship with our fellow church, Union Baptist, who would come over the second and fourth, and we vice versa go over there with them as well. And so we are just a community of love, and we still now standing in this day with our current pastor, Reverend James Allen, with attempts to encourage the community, to evangelize, and to be a social activist in this community. We are part of the Douglasville rezoning, alumni. We are part of many different city activities in the community. We are part of the Mutual Aid Society. Many members attend our city council meeting. Many members have voices throughout the community. And as we participate in city government as well. And we are all many are present with the PTO at different schools, our local school system. We're just working and continue to work to continue to be a light in our community, and providing and giving, not only celebrating the members of our church, but extending to other people in the community where there's a need. Trinity Chapel is always willing to help. We had once had a food bank here when we served not only the members of our church, but also members of our community as well. And we will continue to do that under the leadership of our pastor, our stewards, and our trustees, and the auxiliaries that we have here. We'll continue to work in our community. We have a young people's department. We have a women missionary society in which we will help our sick in the community. Those that may be bereaved or without, our missionary will go forward, go visit the nursing home, visit those sick. Any way that a person is in need, some of us are willing to help in any way we can with those in need, trying to what is spoken in the Bible. Jesus said, when I was hungry, you fed me not. And when I needed clothes, you clothed me not. When I was sick, you did not visit me. And so we're trying to do our best as a church to follow in the road and the guides of the word and our Holy Scripture, and to do that as we can.
My mama and my daddy didn't play in. She used to sit right there in that third seat over there every Sunday stuff, and she stayed here. I mean, she came to church faithfully until she got sick and couldn't come no more. And then when I go to the house and stuff, she was always listening to church music, listening to church songs, or either she got the TV on church, you know, dealing with church. She was all about church, and she was everybody's grandmama, everybody's. They just call her grandmama. I used to call her my dear. That's the name that, you know, we had for her, my dear.
It's a lot of things. When I was a young kid, growing up, right here at Trinity Chapel, a lot of school teachers used to attend this church. They're deceased now. They was good Sunday school teachers. You get out of line, they'll beat your tail. But we had some good time back then. Just like now. I'm 69 years old. Retired. God been good to me. And Trinity Chapel. Bless Reverend Allen, my pastor, and his family.
With me, like I say, the church for the last, I guess say 3-4 years, I've been battling cancer. And the church have Pastor Allen, he comes out and visit, you know, and my missionary sisters, they would come out and visit also. Like I said, they've been good to me, you know, spiritually and financially. They have been good to me. So, you know, I just thank the Lord for that, because, you know, without the Lord, and I say through the Lord, they work through the Lord. Pastor Allen works through the Lord. The members work through the Lord. Because like I say, if you don't put God first in what you do, it's just not going to be successful. So, you know, and I just thank them for that. And like I say, the church, it has been really good to me. Because like I say, without them a lot of times, you know, I need a little help here, the church will come through. So, you know, I thank them for that.
My mother, she raised us, it just raised us in the church and stuff, and she was my example. She was my example because she was always in church. So like I strayed, but I came back, and like I said, when I came back in church and stuff, I got in the choir, got active in the church and stuff like that. And like I said, when we went like on picnics and stuff like that, and just to just show love to the children and stuff, and then we used to have fun and stuff like that.
On one occasion that was really dear to my heart was a show of love toward me and my family. I had to work, I work as a nurse, and I had to work that weekend, and my husband had brought my children to church that Sunday. And my husband getting my children dressed, my daughter's dress was backwards. But one of our church members here, Ms. Ruth Adams, she was so kindly enough to take my daughter, take her inside and change her dress around. Because my husband, he didn't know that the dress was not properly there. But through her love and being a mother and a mother of this church, she just took my child in my absence and had her dressed correctly. And that just showed love and compassion that we have here at Trinity Chapel.
You know, I've been around several places. I've been several states in this country, but everywhere I go, I happen to run into somebody who happened to have been a member here at Trinity. You know, Trinity is spread far and wide. It might not be many of us here right now, but if you look around and you go everywhere you go, you will find somebody that has a connection to Trinity. And we thank God for that, because I'm gonna tell you, when you look back and say, look what the mothers and fathers did here at this church. I look at this ceiling when I came into this church. Handiwork. They didn't have much to work with. They didn't have much money, but look what they did. And when I look at the inside of this church, the mothers and fathers might not have been making but 50 cents an hour, but look what they did with that 50 cents here at the church. You thank God, because God has been good to Trinity. 133 years is not a short time, my brothers and sisters, but I tell you, look what God has still done at 133 years. 133 years might not be a long time, might be a long time in your eyesight, but it's just a short time in God's eyesight. And I tell you, when I came here, I said, we're gonna let Trinity be a beacon for the community. I said, where it can shine, where everybody can find their way. God is good, and He's still good to Trinity after 133 years. Thank you.